On the night of May 9th, 2017, Francisca was childmining her friend's daughter at her family home. Her husband and sons were there also, and the evening unfolded like any other. The young girl's parents, Antonio and Adelaida, arrived later that night to pick her up, and at 11:00 p.m., Francisca escorted them out to their car to say goodbye. The vehicle was parked on the parallel street at an Anchor Terrace street, a mere 50 meters from the home, or about 160 feet. To get there, they had to pass through a small, illuminated alleyway that connected the two streets. Francisca said goodbye to her friends and their daughter and waved them off. As they departed, Antonio and Adelaida looked in their rearview mirror and briefly watched as Francisca made the 60-step journey back to her home. That was the last anyone saw of Francisca Cadenas. When she didn't come back inside, one of her sons contacted Antonio and Adelaida and asked if Francisca had gone with them somewhere husband. They said she hadn't. Francisca was reported missing almost immediately thereafter. A huge search effort was launched, with wells being searched, sniffer dogs scouring both mountains and swamps, uninhabited houses being inspected, and helicopters scouting the area from above. Antonio and Adelaida quickly came forward and confirmed that Francisca had been acting normally that night, and that they saw nobody else on the street when they set off for home. At least, that they had noticed. This video demonstrates Francisca's final steps and shows just how small a distance in time frame she vanished in, as stated by her son Jose. My mother walked up this street, making a 50-meter journey. What's most shocking is how someone can walk that short distance, have the entire town mobilized in 10 minutes, and yet years later, there's still no trace of her. The door is here, we're very close to it, and just a little further up the street is where she disappeared. Someone out there must know what happened to Francisca. After all, people don't just disintegrate. Supposedly, the last person to see her alive was 34-year-old seasonal worker Carlos Gutman. He had crossed paths with her just as she entered the small alleyway. I was going to my car when I saw her, Carlos recalled. She was walking down the other sidewalk towards her home. I didn't even know her name, but we were neighbors, so I greeted her with a "see you later." She told me the same thing and entered the alley. From there, Francisca would have been no more than 20 steps from her home. Though initially considered the prime suspect for obvious reasons, Carlos had a watertight alibi. Shortly after passing Francisca, he had been seen by numerous witnesses having a drink in the town bar. To this day, Francisca's whereabouts and well-being remain a mystery. No trace of her has ever been found. I've seen people online debating whether her neighbors or friends were involved in some way, or whether she ran away of her own accord, though her family are adamant that she would have never abandoned them. They had a normal, happy relationship, and Francisca had left her phone and purse behind in the house. The authorities don't consider her a runaway and believe foul play was involved. Their working theory is that an opportunistic killer was passing through the area and that Francisca was in precisely the wrong place at precisely the wrong place at precisely the wrong place at precisely the wrong moment. If nothing else, this case reminds us of the cruel randomness of life, that through no fault of our own, everything could be taken away from us when we least expect it. Stay vigilant, even when you're just a few meters from your own doorstep. Are you tired of getting bombarded with spam calls and texts? I know I am. Just the other day, I got a text claiming to be from my bank saying my account was compromised. Turns out it was a scam. One of the reasons why we get so many of these annoying messages is because big companies can't keep our data safe. Like how recently AT&T revealed that nearly all of their customers' common text records have been exposed in a massive data breach. Even if you don't use AT&T, if someone who texted you did, then your number was exposed too. To protect myself, I use Sora, the sponsor of today's video, or alerts me if they find that my phone number or any of my other sensitive information has been compromised. And they give me fast forward alerts if anyone tries to use that data to access my credit or bank accounts. There's so much more to keep me and my family safe too. You get transaction monitoring, a VPN antivirus, a password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance, all in one app at one affordable price. My favorite feature is their AI-powered call assistant, which screens unknown calls for spam or scams while still forwarding legitimate ones. It also filters out known spam numbers and even scans links in the messages for phishing threats. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you can go to Lazy and try your first 2 weeks for free. Also linked in the description. Tamaulipas, a Mexican state just across the border from Texas. One that's long been a battleground between warring cartels vying for control of smuggling routes into the US. Back in the early to mid-2010 seconds, the two predominant factions were the Gulf Cartel and their former associates, Los Zetas, a syndicate known for its immense scale and unrivaled brutality. When it came to their business strategy, the ZS, as they were known, employed shock and awe tactics, indiscriminately slaughtering anyone who opposed them. That included Gulf Cartel members, with whom they had daily shootouts, and unfortunately, innocent journalists who spoke out against their actions. Despite being as unsettled as a bullet through a window by publishing their own snuff videos online for the world to see, the cartels, and Los Zetas in particular, hated negative publicity. They enjoyed being feared but not criticized. As such, if a reporter blamed the state's unusually high crime stats on the cartels, there's a good chance they'd be added to the figures themselves, either winding up dead in a ditch or disappearing from the face of the earth. It's no wonder that so many media companies began turning a blind eye to cartel activities altogether, much to the frustration of the good people of Tamaulipas. Without regular news updates, many innocent bystanders found themselves wandering into the cartel's line of fire, both metaphorically and literally. One person who chose not to keep his mouth shut was the creator of the Facebook page Valor por Tamaulipas, or in English, Courage for Tamaulipas, founded on January 1st, 2012, by an anonymous user known only as the admin. The page shared information about cartel-related violence across the state of Tamaulipas and provided security updates to keep local residents safe. With over 500,000 followers and a sizable Twitter presence, Valor por Tamaulipas, or for the sake of my tongue, VPT, regularly uploaded photos of local crime, scenes unreported on drug-related violence, named unshamed corrupt police officers, and uploaded images of alleged criminals and their vehicles. They also warned their audience about roadblocks, arsons, and human trafficking incidents with the aim of raising awareness among the populace, finding the missing, and bringing cartel members to justice. You've all heard stories about the cartel's brutality, and anyone who's seen Funky Town knows that they've earned that reputation. Some of the pictures on VPT were equally as grotesque and not for the faint of heart, so for obvious reasons, I won't be showing them here and don't recommend seeking them out. But unlike most people online, the admin wasn't posting those photos to shock his audience, but rather to help them when no one else would did. With mainstream Mexican media often downplaying violence due to fears of reprisals, VPT became a popular platform for concerned locals, with it frequently being the only source of news about what was happening at any given time. Many turned to VPT to check if there was a shootout occurring nearby, find out where carjackings had occurred, or see if anyone, maybe even a loved one, had gone missing. The admin was known to be active around the clock, sharing whatever details he could whenever he could. As you can imagine, the cartels were less than pleased with him, well aware that revealing his identity would reduce his life expectancy down to about half a day. The admin took every precaution to remain anonymous. That didn't stop the cartels from replying to his posts with death threats, of course, assuring him that his days were numbered. In early 2013, Los Zetas began circulating flyers offering a reward of 600,000 pesos to anyone who revealed the identity of VPT's admin or any of his family members, be they his parents, siblings, wife, or children. Unshaken, the admin took to Facebook and replied directly to the thugs through a public post. "I'm not playing the hero with her husband. I'm doing what I have to do as a citizen. I'll continue to run Valor por Tamaulipas, even if it costs me my life." The admin did assure his followers that his wife and children had moved to the US for their own safety, but told them that he was remaining in Tamaulipas to continue his work. Shortly thereafter, a video began circulating online, one showing a man, allegedly a collaborator of the admin's, kneeling with his hands in his pockets. Next to him stood a masked figure in camouflage holding a firearm. The kneeling man stated, "Please refrain from publishing any information. If not, this is the price you'll pay." After warning internet users against collaborating with VPT, the gunman fired a single shot into the man's head, In response, the admin left a message on Facebook stating that he didn't recognize the man in the video and wouldn't speculate about its authenticity. But the message was clear, and was only made clearer on October 15th, 2014. In the early hours of that morning, the co-admin of VPT's sister page, Rosario Fuentes, was kidnapped. She had tweeted the location of a shootout so that her followers could avoid it, and one of the cartel members realized that she was a doctor who worked in a clinic nearby. Following her capture, the men holding her logged into Rosario's Twitter account, where her followers knew her only as MeUT3, and made several tweets. Friends and family. My real name is Maria del Rosario Fuentes Rubio. I'm a doctor and today my life has come to an end. The account then shared before and after photos of Rosario, one of her being held alive, and another of her corpse. Her killers changed her profile picture to the after photo. The final tweet to appear from her read, Bandoleros 7 Civil Armando MX Valor Tamaulipas. Death is closer to us than you think. Close your accounts. Don't risk your families the way I did. I ask you all for forgiveness. By the time Twitter deactivated the account, the images had already been widely circulated. The admin confirmed Rosario's death on Facebook and expressed his deep sorrow over the incident. He stated that she had been a long-time collaborator of VPT and had saved countless lives, not just as a doctor, but as an anonymous citizen journalist. In December 2014, the admin announced his retirement from social media, stating in a post, in my case, organized crime won. But it has only defeated me, and not society. It has not defeated the thousands of contributors who trusted this page and made reports despite their own fears. He also announced that the page would remain active and was being handed over to a nameless individual with connections in law enforcement. In the comment section of the post, many users thanked the admin for his service, though some expressed concerns about the new management's potential ties to the government. The page was later closed by Facebook, likely for posting graphic content, but was relaunched shortly thereafter. It now mainly serves as a Rosario Fuentes memorial page. Its last update was posted in October 2020. The reason the page fell silent remains unknown. Many suspect, or at least hope, that the admin reunited with his family in the US and that they were able to begin a new life in a less tumultuous setting. His identity remains unknown to this day, and I never thought I'd say this, but I truly hope that's a mystery that will never be solved. In recent days, you may have seen this face appear on your social media feeds. This is Gracie Mae Thompson, a young girl who disappeared in late July of this year and who hasn't been seen or heard from since. In a post made by her mother on August 6th, we learn the following. My daughter has been missing since July 22nd, 16 days. It only takes 2 seconds to share. Her name is Gracie Mae Thompson, age 15, height 5'2", weight 103. Hair color originally strawberry blonde, but recently dyed black. She was last seen in black shorts and a black shirt. The post quickly gained widespread attention, with users trying to help the only way they could, by clicking share. But despite their best efforts and well wishes, Gracie will never be coming home. Gracie doesn't exist. She's a fictional character created as part of a scam. Both her name and story are complete fabrications. Don't get me wrong, these photos are indeed of a real girl, though they were likely stolen from a still unidentified account, with the young woman pictured being completely oblivious to the fact she's been made the poster child of a con. When you dig below the surface of this post, a few red flags do present themselves, but crucially, no amber ones. There haven't been any recent amber alerts for Gracie Mae Thompson anywhere in the US. And if you search her name on Google, no missing person articles or news reports will show up. Instead, you'll be met with dozens of accounts sharing the same template about their missing daughter. All of these different people claim to be Gracie's mother, and though the text itself remains consistent across them, they all contain one conflicting detail, namely where Gracie went missing. Some posts claim that she vanished in Odessa, while others say Stockton, Pickens County, Detroit, Bell, Corner Brook, and various other locations. That's because each of the posts appear in sales pages like Apollo Kittitas County Auction and Odessa, Texas Trading Post. Fraudsters are aware that by making their posts region-specific, they can generate more likes, shares, and clicks. Other posts have also been circulating using different names and faces, though Gracie's has received the most traction so far, with her name even appearing on Google Trends in recent days. Her story is currently making the rounds on TikTok and racking up thousands of views, though some accounts seem to merely be using the fake missing person format to farm engagement or spread a hoax. Others have been making them for more nefarious purposes. According to Scam Finder, some of the posts, like this one, are designed to spread malware by clicking on their associated links, in this case, obituary remembrance info. Users are taken to sites flagged by antivirus software as malicious. Clicking these links could lead to stolen personal information, compromised social media accounts, and the installation of harmful software on your device. Unfortunately, there are no depths that scammers aren't willing to sink to, and that includes preying on the empathy of good-hearted people. In doing so, they divert attention away from real cases, foster distrust towards genuine missing person posts, and exploit the images of people like the young woman used in this scam. If you ever come across a post that's appealing to your empathy like this, take a moment to check the details against reliable sources. This simple step can help prevent the spread of misinformation and protect both you and others from becoming the victims of scams. This next entry was brought to my attention by a recent Goose video. He covers loads of interesting internet mysteries himself, so be sure to check out his channel in the description. You'd hope that the creepiest thing you'd find while browsing reviews on Google Maps would be that the restaurant you've taken your date has a 1-star rating, and that the greatest mystery is whether your next date is gonna be with the toilet. But then you'd be ignoring Ricky Calderon, an account which routinely leaves reviews for various establishments across the US. Though on the surface they aren't particularly noteworthy, when you look through the photos posted alongside them, things take an eerie turn. Browsing through his profile, you'll find hundreds of photos of women superimposed into the locations he's reviewing, usually only the top halves of their heads, sometimes the top third, but never their whole face. The majority aren't even of real people, but rather artificial duplicates that stare blankly at the viewer and give off that uncanny valley aesthetic. Some renders are more convincing than others, and a few of them are straight up just ripped from video games. But then there's these photos which stand out as anomalies, shots of real women seemingly oblivious to the fact that Ricky's taking their picture. I've been through his entire profile and, at time of recording, he's posted 292 photos, with more being added every day. These reviews appear in clusters, most of them for restaurants in Miami, Orlando, Tampa, Chicago, San Antonio, Dallas, and the Washington metropolitan area. The question is, why is Ricky Calderon doing this? The current consensus is that it's all the work of an AI bot training itself to insert fake people into real locations. As stated by user BoxDelDNome on the Goosenst subreddit, my completely unsubstantiated theory is that it's some sort of AI training itself to convincingly insert fake people into real backgrounds, so as to gain traction on sites like Instagram to spread ads. I think all those Reddit bots do something similar. The only thing I can't explain is why they only insert half a face, or why they're actually posting it. Looking through some of Ricky's earliest contributions, there do appear to be a few other real women posing with menus in front of their faces, with only the tops of their heads visible. Looking at those, Reddit user DreamsPeter seems to think he's got the mystery cracked. It's supposed to be taking menu photos and dropping a pretty girl's face in the shot. Most of the time though, it fails. I think it only actually worked once in each image. The picture is intended to be the reviewer, but they're all different. I believe the text in these reviews is also AI generated, and you can tell the recommendations in restaurant reviews are slightly off. This is what the body is trying to do. They're meant to be menu photos. By contrast, I think these are real photos, but stolen from elsewhere. So there we have it, mystery solved, right? These are all the failed experiments of a bot learning to farm interactions and potentially make venues seem more popular than they actually are. 1-0 to the dead internet theory. Maybe. Personally though, I'm not 100% convinced that these images are made using AI. They look more like two graphics spliced together than a generated whole. I've never seen an AI create an image where one part's hyper-realistic and the other less so. They're not exactly something you'd hang in the Louvre, but there seems to be intention behind them, creative decisions being made. I'm by no means an expert, so feel free to disagree, but I've seen others drawing similar conclusions. With a few exceptions, Ricky's reviews are almost exclusively for restaurants. We're talking Twin Peaks, Tilted Kilt, and my personal favorite, bacon, bitch and bitch. The vast majority, though, seem to be for hooters. Guess he really likes the wings. Jokes aside, but we have to question whether Ricky himself is truly visiting these locations, taking photos for his backdrops, and then manually inserting stock photos of women into them, either out of a sense of loneliness, to make it seem like he hangs out with pretty girls unaware of how unrealistic and off-putting his creations appear to other people, or alternatively, because foreheads give him some kind of gratification, a pleasure enhanced by sharing his images with the world. If so, that would make a few of these images, these ones in particular, quite disturbing, given that I doubt these women were even aware their photos were being taken. This is very much a fresh mystery, so let me know your thoughts about it in the comments. I came across this final entry in a Sakura Stardust video. She makes great content that covers all things creepy from the Japanese web. Be sure to check out her content and say hi. Link down below. August is a turbulent time in Japan, smack bang in the middle of typhoon season. Those who live by the ocean, like the good people of Mie Prefecture, are annually bombarded by strong wind, heavy rain, high tides, and deadly landslides. On August 9th, 2014, local Japanese TV station Eater was airing an episode of the hit show for fishing enthusiasts when the station suddenly cut to an emergency report, one which warned of an approaching typhoon. Mie Prefecture was being hit by some particularly severe weather that summer, so those tuned in gave the report their full attention. The live coverage warned viewers to stay indoors and brace for extreme conditions which posed a risk to life, and filled the screen with the storm's predicted trajectory. But as viewers tracked the path of the typhoon and prepared for the worst, an unexpected image flashed on screen. There was no context, no forewarning, no explanation, and just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. But given that it appeared during a typhoon alert, the image both confused and unsettled everyone watching. The incident wasn't addressed by any of the presenters, fueling a mix of curiosity and unease. Predictably, the network's admittedly small viewer base quickly took to online forums to discuss what they had just seen. The picture was so eerie and out of place, so many wondered whether it was a tasteless joke, an attempted network hijacking, or simply a way for Eater to drum up engagement. Well, if the latter was true, then their plan worked. While watching the news about the typhoon in Mie Prefecture, I saw a video of a bloody woman running away from an elevator. Was it an image of her running away from floodwater? Thinking about it, her hair was wet and it was sticking to her face. I thought it was blood. Yeah, there was no explanation at all. Was it real or from a drama series? I don't know. It looks something like this. Eater didn't have many regular viewers, and nobody had recorded the report containing the image. The August 9th broadcast was officially lost, and with nothing but a half-second memory to work with, netizens worked together to paint a clearer picture of what they had seen. Some described a bloody woman being attacked by a realistic ghost, creating mock-ups like these. There was some debate about whether it was a still image or a video clip. Soon the conversations spilled over onto other forums and reached a wider audience, fueling the morbid curiosity of other internet users who joined in with the speculation. Word quickly spread that all the recordings of the typhoon alert had been intentionally erased by the showrunners, who were desperate to prevent anyone from rewatching it. People labeled it as cursed and even an optic hazard, something that, once seen, can't be unseen and could have devastating effects on one's mind. With online speculation getting wildly out of hand, the station's official Twitter account finally addressed the incident, stating, "Due to a system error, a video from one of yesterday's news segments got mixed up in today's announcement. We sincerely apologize." So, netizens had their answer. The image was just a screen grab from one of the previous day's reports, one that had accidentally been spliced into the typhoon coverage. Eater didn't elaborate further, though leaving those following the mystery with even more questions. What sort of news segment would contain such a bizarre, disturbing image? What could they possibly have been reporting on? The still that flashed on screen during the broadcast was eventually tracked down and published in a horror magazine. One headlined, "Scary Broadcast Accident That Occurred During the Typhoon Relay." How the author got their hands on the seemingly lost image remains unclear. But finally, the internet was able to examine it in detail. It was a photo of a distressed woman in a bathroom, running from what appeared to be a person dressed as a yokai. tinged green as if captured using a night vision camera. Despite what MI-EB had announced, many believed that it had to have come from a movie or show rather than a news segment. But despite a thorough search, no piece of media resembling this still could be tracked down. In 2022, popular Japanese blogger and urban legend investigator Yuvaru covered the incident on their YouTube channel, appealing for information about the image's source. And one commenter, Kof707, may have cracked it. This is a promotional video for The Narrow Path of Fear, a haunted house themed around Kuchi-Seikon-non, the infamous split-mouthed woman. According to Kof, the event took place every August in Yanagase, Gifu City, where the legend of Kuchi-Seikon-no is said to have originated. The haunted house, which actually took place down the winding alleyways of Yanagase itself, was filled with long-haired actresses who would jump out and chase attendees. The attraction was actually an initiative which hoped to attract more young people to the shuttered shopping streets of Yanagase and revitalize the town. As you can see, this footage, which was captured during the event's final night in 2019, bears a strong similarity to the 2014 image that aired on MI-EB. The atmosphere, the green hue, and the fact that it took place in August all line up with this event being the origin of the screen grab. How it got mixed up in the August 9th news report remains unclear, since MI-EB have remained tight-lipped on the matter, though it does seem oddly coincidental that this creepy image in particular got into the mix. To date, no one's been able to recover the typhoon broadcast from August 9th and the news broadcast from August 8th, and they both remain lost pieces of media, nor has anyone found the exact promotional clip that this still was taken from. Whatever the case though, for those who were anxiously following the storm broadcast live, seeing this image pop up on the screen must have been a weird and frankly unnerving experience. It was January 16th, 2022, and family man Hubert had just left his Alabama home to grab a bite to eat. It had been a perfectly normal day up until that point, with Hubert having spent most of it at his 8-mile residence with his family. But no more than 20 minutes after stepping out of his front door, Hubert received a frantic call from his autistic son, Desmond. "Dad, Damien killed Mummy." Hubert's heart immediately sank. Damien was Hubert's younger son, a 23-year-old man who in recent weeks had begun acting unusually, ranting about reptilian overlords, preaching about the Egyptian underworld, staring at the sun to absorb its energy, and sending links to his sisters in an attempt to convince them of his newfound beliefs. It was then that Hubert remembered an item that Damien had recently purchased, a samurai sword. In a state of pure panic, Hubert rushed back to the small family home and found his wife of 30 years, Helen Nettles, was unresponsive on the floor. There were 19 slashes to her head, neck, and arms. Realizing that she was already gone, Hubert then ran upstairs to check on the rest of his family. His other son, Desmond, had been lacerated and his brother-in-law, George, was missing half of his face. Both were thankfully still alive, and they explained how Damien had attacked them with a katana before fleeing to an abandoned house nearby. After the police were alerted to his location, Damien took off in his 2000 Honda Accord, sword in hand, and led deputies on a chase that ended when spike strips immobilized his vehicle. He was swiftly apprehended and charged with his mother's slaying, but was later found not guilty by reason of insanity. Up until that point, Damien had no prior run-ins with the law, and his social media pages showed no signs of him losing his grip on reality. Those who knew him best spoke of how normal and well-adjusted he was. But according to his father, between 4 and 6 weeks before the tragedy unfolded, Damien had fallen down a dark rabbit hole, having apparently been brainwashed by a mysterious online group that he had encountered in a Call of Duty lobby. He had started listening to some crazy group of people, like a cult or something. Hubert told the media. We had never had any problems out of him, and then all of a sudden he started acting paranoid. A year and a half before Damien took his mother's life, a channel called the University of Cosmic Intelligence began uploading videos to YouTube. The man behind the account was Rashad Jamal White, an Atlanta-based rapper with convictions for battery, strangulation, and suffocation. He'd also previously been charged in connection with a murder, but wasn't convicted. By late 2020, Rashad had turned over a new leaf and decided that rather than take from society, he was going to give back to it. And what he had to offer was his godly wisdom. Going by his New Age name, Divine Insight, the self-proclaimed prophet used his platform to wax lyrical about mysticism and conspiracy theories, warning his followers of government plots to control them. Among other things, Rashad alleges that NBA players are synthetic robots, that rainbows are stargates to alternate dimensions, that human bodies are avatars injected with nanobot technology at birth, that birds are actually drones used to spy on citizens, that the Mississippi River is actually the Nile, that ancient Egyptian gods were actually aliens who once walked the earth, that the sun is the source of all human energy, and that clouds are government tools used to block its power, keeping people weak and obedient. The crux of Rashad's philosophy, however, hinges on race, specifically that Caucasians are shape-shifting reptilians, while Black and Latino people are spiritually enlightened gods and goddesses chosen by divine forces. In the past, he's preached about how their blue-skinned ancestors had once wielded immense spiritual power before, quote, losing their frequency and being subjugated. Despite being as convincing as a Zuckerberg smile, the teachings of cosmic intelligence struck a chord with many people, particularly the disenfranchised, marginalized, and frankly gullible. With so many people in the modern era lacking a sense of meaning and purpose in life, Rashad was able to amass a worryingly large fan base, with over 200,000 people subscribing to his YouTube channel, 150,000 to his TikTok, and 105,000 to his Instagram page. Visiting the group's website, Rashad claims to have founded his online university to enlighten and illuminate the minds of carbonated beings. But if we look a little deeper beneath the surface, it becomes quite apparent that cosmic intelligence is just like every other cult. In other words, a get-rich-quick scheme masquerading as a spiritual movement. The guru's most arcane knowledge is predictably locked behind a paywall. If you want access to Rashad's daily live lectures, for example, then you'll need to purchase one of his university's very reasonably priced subscription packages. But why waste your time with the gold and blue packages when you could go straight to Violet? As he's keen to tell you, it's the best seller, the cheapest package, and a money saver. For the low price of $333, you not only get a year's access to live lectures but also unlock all sorts of exciting goodies, like a 9% coupon off Rashad's merch store. After all, who wouldn't want to buy one of these amazing artifacts, especially with such an attractive refund policy? Despite being an obvious scam, the University of Cosmic Intelligence's subscriber count has continued to grow. Rashad's followers aren't simply fans, though many are disciples, devout believers who refer to him as God and spend thousands of dollars to finance his lifestyle. For example, prior to slaying his mother, Damian Washam had reportedly spent $5,000 on crystals from his merch store. But just as his popularity and bank balance began to skyrocket, Rashad was arrested yet again. This time of the child of his ex-girlfriend, Darshell Smith. He was convicted in 2023, and a Georgia judge handed him an 18-year prison sentence, with an additional 22 years probation. For some, this marked the end of their faith in him, but for others, it only cemented their loyalty. An online petition titled Justice for Rashad Jamal quickly gathered thousands of signatures, with his followers stating that the legal case against him was a deliberate effort to suppress his spiritual power. Two members who signed the petition were Yasmin Hyder and Crystal Pinkins, an unlikely duo who had met through cosmic intelligence. Prior to becoming members, Yasmin, then 20, was a former college student in Oklahoma, and Crystal, 36, was a certified health aide in Tennessee. Both came from tight-knit families who described them as ordinary and well-adjusted women. That is, before they began engaging with cosmic intelligence posts on social media sites. By August 2022, the pair had seemingly abandoned their past lives and took to traveling around the country together, living off-grid in makeshift campsites, as per Rashad's teachings, free from government surveillance and isolated from their support networks. On August 14th of that same year, the duo found themselves completely out of money, having given most of what they had to Rashad. But that mattered not, for as he had taught them, the laws of Yas don't apply to them, and so they could simply take whatever they wanted. As such, Yasmin and Crystal formulated a plan, one that would have dire consequences. That afternoon, Mikalyap Onas and her boyfriend, Adam Simji, both students at the University of Central Florida, were driving through Talladega National Forest, a final getaway before the start of the fall semester. As they made their way along a particularly quiet stretch of road, they came upon a young woman flagging them down for assistance. That woman was Yasmin Hyder. Posing as a stranded motorist, Yasmin asked the young couple for help jump-starting her vehicle. Adam and Mikalia decided to be good Samaritans and spent an hour trying to get Yasmin's car started, searching for YouTube tutorials, and even calling Adam's mechanic father to figure out a possible solution. After checking the coast was clear, Yasmin pulled a firearm on the unsuspecting couple and demanded that they hand over their keys, cell phones, and bank cards. Not wanting any trouble, Mikalia and Adam complied. But when Yasmin ordered them to walk into the woods, it became disturbingly apparent that they were about to be executed. In an effort to protect his girlfriend, Adam drew his concealed firearm and fired 4 shots at Yasmin, hitting her 3 times in the chest and once in the leg. Yasmin returned fire, hitting Adam once in the back. Mikalia was a nursing student, and she desperately tried to save Adam while Yasmin called out to her accomplice, Crystal, who had been watching everything from the tree line. But rather than help, Crystal abandoned her comrade and fled deeper into the woods. Adam lived for another 20 minutes after being hit. Unfortunately, it took paramedics 30 minutes to arrive at the scene, by which point Adam had succumbed to his wound. Another life lost to members of Cosmic Intelligence. Yasmin, on the other hand, survived the ordeal and was quick to give up her traitorous accomplice, Crystal. The authorities later found the 36-year-old hiding at a nearby base camp, where she and Yasmin had been living in tents. Crystal's 5-year-old child emerged from one of them armed with a loaded shotgun. Thankfully, the authorities were able to disarm the boy without further incident. While searching the area for evidence, officers encountered several more tents that belonged to other members of Cosmic Intelligence. After making a full recovery, Yasmin Hyder took a plea deal and received a 35-year sentence for ending Adam's life. In exchange, she testified against her co-conspirator, Crystal Pinkins. Despite not pulling the trigger herself, Crystal was determined to have been the mastermind behind the plot and was given a life sentence. Despite Cosmic Intelligence now being linked to 2 slayings, there was nothing that directly implicated its leader, Rashad, and as such, he faced no further legal charges. And even with its leader behind bars, the University of Cosmic Intelligence continues to live on, with old clips and new jailhouse recordings being posted to the group's YouTube channel, uploaded by one of Rashad's disciples. Reading through some of the top comments, it's clear that he still has a zealous, growing fan base. The internet has dramatically expanded the reach and influence of cults, making it easier than ever for them to attract and recruit new followers, especially when a growing number of people are now terminally online and yet desperate for connection. Through social media platforms, forums, and websites, prophets like Rashad can quickly disseminate their message to a global audience, often targeting vulnerable individuals seeking community or purpose. Algorithms that promote echo chambers only amplify their influence, and those who fall prey to the teachings of these influencer gurus often don't realize the dangers they're putting themselves in. In August 2023, at least 6 members of Cosmic Intelligence disappeared from St. Louis. They haven't been seen or heard from since. While browsing the R-Internet Mysteries subreddit, I stumbled upon a post asking about a suspicious TikTok account, one whose owner has uploaded hundreds of bizarre videos over the span of a year and a half. Looking through them, you'll quickly notice some recurring themes: Buddhist iconography, photos of anonymous women, and ball-joint dolls arranged in strange positions. All of the videos are backed by surreal, avant-garde music created by the account owner himself. But the most concerning things to be found on the account are undoubtedly clips like these. Videos in which the account holder films unsuspecting women through their windows, either while their backs are turned or while they're asleep. Reddit had a field day with this one, drawing comparisons between this account and Mr. Sleepy People, the ex-YouTuber who went around licking the eyeballs of sleeping or more likely sedated friends and acquaintances. Many people do seem to get a kick out of filming unconscious people without their knowledge or consent and then sharing their video creations for some nebulous cess to enjoy. And this account was certainly attracting some strange followers. Others have brought up the possibility of this being an elaborate ARG or, more worryingly, the video diary of a wannabe serial killer. Indeed, many of the videos are captioned with ominous messages like "need to kill." However, you'll notice I haven't given out the name of the account holder. And that's because I personally don't think there's any mystery to solve here. I'm confident that the man behind the account is mentally unwell, and that the women featured are friends and relatives, using subtle clues found in some of the videos. Reddit user Horseballs1998 was able to pinpoint the exact building that the account holder lives in, an apartment complex on the outskirts of Tampere, Finland, designed for seniors aged 63 and up. There were some videos where he films outside his window. You can see a sign to a university building. I don't want to dox him and say the exact place. As for the senior housing, I just googled his address and looked at a listing for an apartment in that building. You might need to know some Finnish for this if you want to research. I don't know if Google Translate is accurate. As to why he's doing this, my guess is Alzheimer's or some sort of disability. Perhaps inspired by this discussion on Reddit, another user made a post on our internet mysteries about a similar YouTube account, one which, in my opinion, is far more sinister. Ramadu NUSLVN. On October 3rd of this year, user NoPay2356 posted the following. Weird YouTube channel filming sleeping women through door. Her face is covered for some reason. On this channel, there are multiple strange videos and shorts showing a woman sleeping, and even another person laying next to her. In one video, the man seems to be filming through the keyhole of the door, and it seems like the woman is sensing his presence considering her disturbed sleep and the fact that she wakes up multiple times. If anyone can find further information about this man and possibly inform local authorities, I would greatly appreciate it. As detailed by NoPay, Ramadu NUSLVN is an Indonesian YouTuber with several POV videos on his channel, ones in which he secretly films a sleeping couple in the dead of night. Whether Ramad knows the subjects or not is unclear, though the title of this particular video, Tekeng Si a Ball, translates to pervert in English, so it's safe to say that Ramad is well aware what he's doing is wrong. Even more worrying is that he's posted other videos of the same household to his account which appear to have been filmed on separate nights, meaning he's repeatedly targeted the same couple on multiple occasions. In this instance, I think the connection to Mr. Sleepy People is far more apt, given that Ramad's account definitely revolves around somnophilia, an attraction to the unconscious. While it's unclear what drives this desire, it likely stems from a feeling of control or power over a vulnerable person. In response to these videos, the Reddit community quickly mobilized to track Ramad down. Looking through some of his other videos, which include his work van, Reddit user Pocosi was able to narrow down that search based on his other videos. I think he lives in Medan, North Sumatra, and he works as a locksmith. I tried to track down the phone number and it belongs to someone named Martin. Maybe his boss. It also reveals the address of his workplace. I'll see if I can report it to the authorities, but since I live on a different island, the best I can do is submit the information to the Cyberikma Police Department. Although knowing the Indonesian police, they probably won't take this case seriously. Indeed, it's likely that Ramad knows he won't face any serious consequences, seeing how he's left his phone number in several video titles. Unfortunately, the internet has given rise to a growing trend of people exploiting the sleeping, unsuspecting, and vulnerable. Non-consensual voyeurs have found a home online where people with these disturbing inclinations can find communities that normalize their behavior. In the past, individuals with such urges would have likely kept them hidden, fearing judgment or ostracism. Now online, forums and networks allow them to connect anonymously with one another, offering them shadowy spaces to trade videos and further validate their actions, to the point where some don't even bother to hide their identities at all. And with such people out there, I can say one thing with certainty: I'll be keeping my curtains tightly closed at night from now on. In recent years, an old video game has been the subject of a lot of online attention, but not because of any sense of renewed nostalgia, but rather because of some resurfaced childhood trauma. Forum users across the net began discussing memories of an old arcade racer that no longer seemed to exist, one which they describe as a cross between a racing sim and Silent Hill, where the whole ambience just felt off in a way that was hard to put into words, that game being Thrill Dr. Vav. If you've never heard of it, don't worry. You're far from alone. Despite being one of the main inspirations for the Burnout series, Thrill Doctor has since fallen into obscurity. Developed by Konami and published in 1998, Thrill Doctor never made it to consoles and, as a result, isn't well known outside of Japan. In fact, according to the Konami wiki, all Thrill Dr. arcade cabinets have since disappeared, and the game is believed to be lost. Well, at least in the wild. As its name implies, Thrill Doctor was set on public roads around the world and saw players racing through busy cities, avoiding civilians on oncoming traffic to reach the finish line. The less damage they racked up along the way, the more they would be rewarded at the end. The game was set across 3 stages, was set to grade players based on their reflexes, style, and courage, and at first glance appeared to be your typical light-hearted racing fare, along the crew's ends eerie's. That is, except for the horror elements. And we're not talking supernatural, spooky horror, but rather unsettling, realistic horror. According to the Konami wiki, Thrill Doctor came with 2 settings, mild and hard. This affected both the animations and on-screen text following a collision. Each cabinet was set to hard by default, so should the player crash, they'd be met with something like this. A jarring scream would suddenly ring out, along with the face of the driver a millisecond before impact. Ambulance sirens would blare, and the player character would either slump dead in their seat or be tossed through their windshield, depending on the severity of the crash. A slow-motion replay would show the carnage unfolding with the text collision, serious accident, or fatal accident filling the screen, adding to the morbidity. With each crash, the race would reset, but the atmosphere would be slightly different each time, devolving from fun to morose to downright haunting. The colors would become less vibrant, the clouds more oppressive, and the music would shift from your typical racing soundtrack to something ripped straight from a horror movie. No doubt many unsuspecting kids inserted their coins into the cabinet, perhaps expecting to play something similar to Crazy Taxi, but left feeling like they purchased a front row ticket to a road safety PSA, and we all know how creepy those can be. But here's the thing, given that Thrill Drive was no longer available to play, and that all the descriptions of it sounded more like a creepypasta than an actual arcade game, many people who had never played it in their youth began to question whether this supposedly lost piece of physical media was actually unfiction, an obscure ARG or ARG, designed to draw people in and creep them out. It wouldn't be the first time that game footage was used in such a project. That 90-second song N60 for style is particularly common in non-fiction projects, given that it's much easier to replicate compared to modern graphics, and many games from that era had a, well, uncanny aura. Let's put it like that. For example, Sagan Hawks recently dropped a video about his search for a creepy 90 seconds dinosaur game. It's a fun, immersive watch, a true love letter to unfiction projects. But crucially, it proves that with enough dedication and talent, creative people can produce convincing gameplay footage to accompany their narratives. So, despite a few emulated runs of Thrill Doctor existing online, many people aware of the game's supposed existence began to question whether they were faked or created by people playing an elaborate hoax on the gaming community. Indeed, it was so hard to track down that even those who had played it began to question themselves, could this be an example of a collective false memory? Perhaps a new example of the Mandela effect? Well, those concerns were put to rest 2 months ago when user Real Hedgehog made this post on the R-Creepy Gaming subreddit. So this is a bit of a historical curiosity, and a game I hadn't heard of until I discovered it last week, in the deserted kids club at an off-season golf resort in Australia. Why is it creepy? Thrill Drive is a racing game from 1998 that sets you out on the busy streets with civilian traffic and pedestrians, asks you to push the limits, and lets you see the consequences of your actions. If you crash too hard, your car is obliterated in ways that leave little to the imagination. The screen goes black and bold red letters spell out lethal accident. Gran Turismo this is not. But it's also not Grand Theft Auto, being gory and actively discouraging bloodshed. It's somehow much more stressful, despite its lack of blood, taking every injury really seriously and counting up the cost of damage you cause in a sort of reverse high score mechanic. This might make it sound like a kind of scold why road safety ad, but it's not. It's actually super creepy. This is largely due to an interesting Silent Hill vibe, where each time you crash fatally, the screen fades to black and then you get to restart. But the weather has become grimmer and darker. It's somber and eerie, and it gets worse each time. Eventually, the whole world is a grey murk with occasional lightning flashes. It's heavy. Interestingly, the Blue Mountains where I found this cabinet are also famous or notorious for their misty, cloudy, and eerie weather. Playing this and then walking out into the multiple day whiteout added an extra dimension to the experience, as did the many crows and magpies in the area. The cabinet art gives you a really good sense of what to expect vibes-wise. In terms of racing, I think it holds up. The handling is approachable and makes driving fun, even for non-racing people like me. I wanted to keep playing even after I spent $20 on credits, and I'm a responsible adult. According to the Konami wiki, these are believed to be lost in the wild, so I thought I'd post it here in case anyone has questions about it. If you're ever at Fairmont Resort in the Blue Mountains, don't pass up the chance to give it a go, especially if the clouds are low and the mist is deep and thick. So there we have it. Thrill Drive is confirmed to be both real and still available to play in the outside world. Not exactly the darkest thing I've ever covered on this channel, but a fun little discovery nonetheless. One which, amidst all the grey and gloom of the game itself, gives many lost media enthusiasts hope. In Il Hedgehog's words, it actually made me really happy just knowing there must be so many other presumed lost games out there. This is Danny. Say hi, Danny. If you've sent or received a GIF in the past couple of months, you've probably seen her face pop up on your mobile device. Thing is, she only appeared recently, and yet seems to have paid everyone a welcome, or perhaps unwelcome, visit in a short space of time, leaving many people wondering, who is this woman in these GIFs? Where do they come from, and why are they suddenly everywhere? Let's try and get to the bottom of this one. The main tool used to find and share GIFs is GIFi, the second largest search engine in the world in terms of total searches. It's what you use to find GIFs on WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all the other main social networks, really. So that's probably the best place to start our investigation. Heading over to GIFi.com, we can see that our mysterious friend is officially called Uncanny Danny, a fitting name. We can also see that her GIFs have racked up an impressive 8 billion views, confirming that she's not just being shared around by a small subculture of horror enthusiasts. Danny is indeed everywhere. Aside from that, there's little else to go on here. No links to her creators, no explanation about the purpose of the GIFs themselves, no information on why they were made, no backstory to the character. Nothing, really. So I dug a little deeper. I wanted to know how it was possible for a character with no known origin to consistently appear at the top of GIF searches. To figure that out, we need to know how GIFi's algorithm works. According to Rise7.com, when you upload a GIF to GIFi, you can add up to 10 hashtags to help people find it. Choosing relevant and commonly used tags will logically help your creation reach more people. GIFs with words typically rank higher than those without. It's clear that Danny's creator knew how to play the game, attaching her to commonly searched phrases in both English and Spanish. But simple searches like "go to sleep" and "I miss you" already have thousands of GIFs, and many more ordinary ones to choose from at that. The Uncanny Valley is something that appeals to me, and, given the nature of this channel, probably most of you too. And we've probably all seen these as some sort of dark joke and see the funny side. But in my experience, the average person doesn't appreciate things like this. So why did Danny suddenly dominate in such overstoried search markets when her competition was already well established and frankly, far more normal? The mystery surrounding these GIFs has given rise to rumor and conspiracy. The more cynical believe that Danny is a marketing tool, a way to drum up interest for an upcoming TV show or movie. A quick Google search of Uncanny Danny did lead me to this gentleman, Danny Robbins, an English broadcaster who has a paranormal investigation show called Uncanny. The name links up, and his hair is kind of similar to our Danny's. I'm sure. Though aside from that, there isn't much connecting the two. He's male, she's female, and none of the GIFs reference his show in any way. Other people have started giving Danny the creepypasta treatment, labeling her GIFs as cursed images and optic hazards. Once you've set eyes on Danny, she'll come pay you a goodnight visit in the near future. Well, a good 20% of the world is already doomed then. You lot included. Sorry, guys. Finally, there are those who say that Danny is just a cool art project that caught on precisely because it's different, fun, and a little spooky. and having looked into her origin, I thankfully can confirm that to be the case. While chasing leads, I came across this Instagram post by Miss Gory FX. Somehow, the Uncanny Annie section of GI-Fi has won 5 billion views. I guess the uncertainty in the purgatory of the stale, unsettling backrooms is feeling oddly relevant. Model, very human. Senior Art Creative Director, Parker's Jackson. Hair and makeup artist, Miss Gory Effects. Special thanks to the GI-Fi crew for bringing me on board for this one. Would you follow Danny into the backrooms? Eureka! This one post, made by the shoot's hair and makeup artist, gave us all of the information we've been searching for. The model playing our favorite backrooms entity is Laura Dumitor IU, Oka very human, an actor and creative performer who's been in some interesting projects. The gifts were commissioned by GI-Fi themselves and directed by California-based artist Parker S. Jackson. Checking out Mr. Jackson's Instagram page, I was pleasantly surprised to find some mind-blowing, blood-curdling artwork that he's created. Everything here is just such a treat. I'm particularly fond of old Egbo here. Looking a bit deeper into Parker S. Jackson's work history, we can see that he was a concept artist for Jordan Peele's movie Nope, was the co-creator of the Found Footage Art Collective, and currently works as creative director at GI-Fi Studios. And that explains why the GIF was able to become so popular so quickly. So, Dani was the brainchild of a creative mind, and we can definitely say that her origin has been found. And still, her sudden prevalence has been a fun little anomaly, and it's nice seeing all the myths and backstories people have been sharing around about Dani's sudden infamy. And now that we know she's from the backrooms, hopefully we can get some more official, or maybe even unofficial, lore. And if not, well, I'm sure many of us will be seeing Dani in our dreams later anyway. Why, hello again, Lazy Legion. It has been a while, hasn't it? Apologies for the long break between this video and the last. I've not only been in the process of moving back to Japan, but honestly, I became a little disheartened when YouTube decided to hit a few of my videos with that yellow $ of doom for no discernible reason. But it'll be smooth sailing from here on out, I'm sure. Knock on wood.